Khan. All right, Shalom. Before I begin, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kudash. I'd like to say double honors to my teachers, the apostles, and the elders of Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned this truth from, and also Shalom and salutations to the brothers out there of the hopeful elect. So I'm the brother Shaquat, from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal, back with another lesson. And this lesson that I'm going to be getting into today, is going to be a lesson basically going into, the fact that the so-called white man, and his real biblical term is Esau, right? He descends from a man named Esau, making his progenitors the Edomites, right? So the Edomites are the ones ruling the earth right now, you see. And this lesson that I'm going to be getting into is the fact that these Edomites, this ruling class, they don't, they're not fit to rule, right? And there's countless reasons, that we can go into to prove that they're not fit to rule. But I'm just going to hone in on one of them, all right? And that's the fact that they're unsatiable, they're unsatisfied. You see, scriptures speak about how he enlargeth his desire. Matter of fact, that's in Habakkuk. Let me get it real quick. Habakkuk 2. I'm going to open with that. Habakkuk 2 and verse 4. It says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, right? So the soul of the so-called white man, his spirit is not upright. It's crooked, right? And scriptures speak about something that's crooked cannot be made straight. Once the Lord Yahweh has made something to be crooked, you cannot make it straight. And that's the case with the so-called white man. He's been made crooked. He's not right, and that's the way he was designed. It says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people, right? So those are some characteristics of the so-called white man. The fact that he's proud, he transgresseth by wine, meaning his philosophies, right? He goes off, through his philosophies. He doesn't keep at home. And what does it mean that he doesn't keep at home? Meaning, hey, he wants to conquer each and every body, man. Right? That's why he has embassies all around the world. And it says he enlargeth his desire as hell, and he is as death. Right? So his desires are things that cannot be fulfilled. Right? He can never have enough. He wants everything. Right? And a perfect example of that is here in Canada, where I'm currently at. The Edomites are ruling Canada, right? But when you take a look at the system of Canada right now, we probably have one of the worst economies, at the moment. Why? Because there's tax on tax on tax and tax on, just continual tax, man, on everything. Right? That's a system of death, man. That's a system where you can't enjoy, living. Right? But the point being is that money that the working class is working hard to earn, they're not even seeing the majority of that money. Hence the deduction. That money is being taken away. And that's one of the characteristics to the so-called white man, because where's that money going to? It's going to the ruling class, right? Them taxes and so on and so forth, them little things, right? All right. So let's jump into the lesson, right? I've just proved one example or one reason why the so-called white man is not fit to rule, right? And that's because he is not he's selfish. To sum everything, if I could sum everything that I just mentioned into one word, that's the word I would use, right? Selfish, right? Because you're selfish if you always want more. You don't want to share, right? But that's the kind of spirit of an Edomite, man, and that's not the spirit of an Israelite, right? For the most part, and I'm gonna prove that, right? Because we have had rulers in our time, notable rulers, man. King David, King Solomon, so on and so forth, right? And those were examples of somebody that's supposed to be ruling, but they weren't perfect examples because those men came short as well, right? But that's the closest thing that we can get to an example of someone that's supposed to rule, right? And of course, Yahushai, with Yahushai's kingdom is coming. You see? But King David and King Solomon, they were the closest thing to what a righteous kingdom was supposed to look like. All right? So let's jump into it. 1 Samuel 30. And I'm going to start at verse 21, right? It says the spoils are divided. And this is just to set the stage. King David just won his battle with the Amalekites, right? It says 1 Samuel 30 and verse 21, and David came to the 200 men which were so faint that they could not follow David, whom they had made also to abide at the brook of Bashor. And they went forth to meet David and to meet the people that were with him. And when David came near to the people, he saluted them. Then answered all the wicked men and men of Baal of those that went with David, right? Because there was a split, right? There was a split. Some men were too tired and faint, so they had to stay back, and the others continued on, right? But those that stayed back, they were watching the camp, right? So let's pick it up here, man. Let's keep going. Verse 22. Then answered all the wicked men and men of Baal of those that went with David, and said, because they went not with us, we will not give them aught of the spoil that we have recovered, save to every man his wife and his children, that they may lead them away and depart. Right. So these men, their mindset was like, hey, man. The men that went to battle with David, they said, yo, these men didn't come with us, so they don't deserve to have the spoil. They didn't work for it, right? Let's see King David's response. It says, verse 23, then said David, ye shall not do so, my brethren, with that which Yahweh hath given us, who have preserved us and delivered the company that came against us into our hand. For who will hearken unto you in this matter? But as his part is that goeth down to battle, so shall his part be that tarrieth by the stuff. They shall part alike, right? So King David said, yo, it doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter whether you went down to battle and fought or you stayed back and watched the camp, the stuff, right? You're still gonna get the same share of spoil. Why? Because it wasn't up to you, that we won the battle. It was the Lord, right? So you don't really have a say-so, right? Going to show you the meekness and humbleness of King David, and the righteousness of King David, because that was a righteous act, because what if the camp had got invaded and, those men had to protect the stuff, the men, women, and children, and so on and so forth, and, but showing you, hey, the mindset of King David is not the same mindset as these Edomites, right? Because the ruling class at the moment, they are putting the hammer down on their own people as well, man. On fellow Edomites. You know? And that was not the spirit of King David, to have his people suffer as well, man. Oh, King Solomon as well, right? When you go into the history, right, the apostles and elders often speak about it, right? King Solomon, he wasn't, hey, you know, everybody was eating in King Solomon's kingdom. He shared the riches with his people. You know, there wasn't such thing as a poor Israelite, man, in King Solomon's time, because he took care of his, right? But these Edomites, once again, going to show you that they're not fit to rule, is they don't give a damn about nobody, even their own people, right? They just care about themselves. The elites, that is, the ruling class, right? Verse 25, it says, and it was so from that day forward that he made it a statute and an ordinance for Israel unto this day, right? So he made it an ordinance, you know, a custom for spoils to be shared with those that stayed at the camp and those that went to battle, right? So matter of fact, real quick, let me jump to Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus 14 and verse 5. Matter of fact, verse 3, it says, riches are not comely for a niggard, right? And this niggard is concerning the so-called white man, right? Riches are not beautiful, you know, in his sight. It says, and what shall an envious man do with money? Right, because when an envious man, you know, has money, he can never have enough, right? Even if he does have enough, he's gonna envy something somebody else has, right? And that's just a wicked spirit, right? Even if you got it, you still want something that somebody has, you know? Verse 4, he that gathereth by defrauding his own soul gathereth for others, that shall spend his goods riotously. He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods. There is none worse than he that envieth himself, and this is a recompense of his wickedness, right? So that's the so-called white man. He envies himself, and he, you know, he's evil to himself. You know, they're evil to themselves, man, as Edomites, right? So who is he gonna be good to? You cannot trust a man like that. A man like that is a man set up for self-destruction, man. You know, and that's the so-called white man, right? But then versus somebody like King David, hey, that spirit is not there, you know? And even King Solomon, right? So let's jump from 1 Kings chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, and when the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord Yahweh, she came to prove him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train, with camels that bear spices and much gold and precious stones. And when she was come to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in her heart. And Solomon told her all her questions. There was not anything hid from the king which he told her not. And when the queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom, and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his ascent by which he went up unto the house of the Lord Yahweh, there was no more spirit in her. That's right. You know, so the queen of Sheba, she got to witness King Solomon's kingdom. You know, and when she saw everything that was going on, the spirit almost left her, man. She almost died. Why? Because King Solomon, being a righteous man that he was, right? You know, he shared and was not envious, man. Why? Because his servants, those that worked for him, those ministers, those that bared his cup and so on and so forth, they were on a level as well, right? I believe in the Josephus, it mentions how, I think that's in the scriptures, but King Solomon, one of his gatekeepers or doorkeepers, was mistaken for him, right? You know, showing you what level everybody was on in King Solomon's kingdom, right? you know? And King Solomon cared for his people, man. Unlike the so-called white man, you know? Amen. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying. Call Allah, Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Kakudash. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles, and elders of Great Millstone. Until next time, Shalom.